My toxic family forced me to eat in the kitchen at my sister's engagement party, so I revealed I owned the $2.4 million venue and kept their $940,000 deposit. My name is Caroline Hayes and I am 31 years old. The evening of March 15th started like any other family humiliation, with my mother's voice dripping with contempt as she assigned me my role for the night. What my family did not know was that this would be the last time they would ever have the opportunity to treat me like I was nothing. Because I wasn't nothing. I was the owner of the $2.4 million estate they were currently celebrating in, and in exactly 10 minutes they were about to find out. But before I tell you how their $180,000 engagement party came crashing down around them, let me explain how we got here. Because this was not just about one dinner, this was about 31 years of being treated like the family mistake, the disappointment, the one who just did not measure up to my perfect sister Victoria. Growing up, our family operated on a simple principle. Victoria was the sun, and I was supposed to orbit gratefully in her shadow. She was 2 years younger than me, but you would never know it from the way my parents treated her, like she had invented success itself. When Victoria got into college, my parents threw a party for 200 people at the country club. They bought her a brand new BMW as a congratulations gift and paid her entire tuition, $1,240, for 4 years at a private university. When I got into college with a full academic scholarship, my father said, "Well, at least you won't cost us anything." There was no party, no car, and my mother actually told relatives I chose a state school because I was not ambitious enough for anything better. The fact that I had earned a full ride did not matter to them. When Victoria got her first job as a marketing coordinator making $45,000 a year, my parents acted like she had been appointed CEO of a Fortune 500 company. My mother called everyone in our extended family, and my father took her to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in the city. When I got my first job as a financial analyst making $68,000, my mother said, "That's nice, dear," and changed the subject to talk about Victoria's incredible career trajectory. The pattern repeated itself over and over. Victoria bought a condo with my parents' help, as they gave her $150,000 for the down payment. I bought my first property entirely on my own at 24, and my father's only comment was, "Must be nice to have money to waste on real estate." He had no idea that property was a small apartment building I had purchased as an investment, or that I had already started building what would become a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. They never asked about my life, never asked what I did for work beyond that first job, and never asked if I was happy, if I needed anything, if I had dreams or goals or achievements worth celebrating to them. I was just Caroline, the older sister who existed to make Victoria look better by comparison. What my family did not know, what they never bothered to ask about, was that I had a talent for real estate investment that bordered on intuitive. While Victoria was spending my parents' money on designer handbags and weekend trips, I was learning everything I could about property markets, investment strategies, and wealth building. My first investment property purchased at 24 had been a small apartment building in an up-and-coming neighborhood. I had saved every penny from my analyst job, worked weekends doing freelance financial consulting, and barely slept for 2 years to make it happen. That building tripled in value within 3 years, and I sold it for an $890,000 profit. I took that profit and bought 3 more properties, then 6, then 12. By the time I was 28, I owned a portfolio worth $8.2 million. I had quit my analyst job and now worked as a private real estate consultant for high net worth clients, managing investments that my parents could not even conceptualize. But I never told them, because why would I when they never asked and they never cared? Honestly, some part of me enjoyed knowing that they completely underestimated me. While they pitied me for being just a financial analyst, a job I had left 3 years ago, I was quietly building an empire. The Rosewood Estate had been my most recent acquisition. 5 months ago, I had purchased the historic property for $2.4 million in cash. It was a stunning 1920s mansion with manicured gardens, a ballroom, and enough prestige to make it the most sought-after event venue in the city. The previous owners had run it as a venue for years, and I had kept the excellent management team in place, including Marcus, the estate manager who had worked there for 15 years when Victoria announced her engagement to Bradley, an investment banker whose most interesting quality was his family's money. I knew exactly what my parents would do. They would want to throw the most extravagant engagement party possible. My mother started calling venues immediately, complaining loudly at family dinners about how impossible it was to find anything suitable for someone of Victoria's caliber. The Rosewood Estate would be perfect, my mother sighed one Sunday dinner, but they are booked solid for the next year. She claimed to have called 14 times. I had smiled into my wine glass because the Rosewood estate was not booked. I deliberately kept March 15th open. I wanted to see exactly how far my family would go. 2 weeks later, my mother called me, barely able to contain her excitement, exclaiming, "Caroline, you won't believe it. The Rosewood estate had a cancellation, so we got the date for Victoria's engagement party." What she did not know was that I had instructed Marcus to call her back and offer the canceled slot. I had also instructed him not to mention ownership, just to handle everything professionally and accept their deposit. My parents had wired $940,000 total, $740,000 for the venue, catering, and services, plus a $200,000 deposit for Victoria's future wedding reception they booked for next spring. Tittering and service story, I would love for you to hit that like button, but only if it is resonating with you, with no pressure at all. The weeks leading up to the engagement party were a masterclass in my family's priorities. My mother called Victoria 47 times to discuss details, but she called me only twice, both times to tell me what I should wear because we can't have you looking inappropriate in the photos. Victoria posted daily updates on social media about the most incredible engagement party ever planned. She shared photos of her custom Vera Wang dress, which cost $8,500, the designer invitations, which cost $3,200 for 100 invitations, and the elaborate floral arrangements my mother had ordered for $22,000. Not once did she mention me. 1 week before the party, we had a family planning dinner at my parents' house. I was invited, but only because my mother said it would look bad if I was not there. "Now, Caroline," my mother began, using that tone she reserved for when she was about to say something cruel while pretending it was practical, "we need to discuss your role at the party." "My role?" I asked calmly. "Yes, we've worked very hard to make this perfect for Victoria, and we can't have any disruptions," she replied. My father cleared his throat and said, "What your mother means is that this is Victoria's night, and we need you to understand that and behave accordingly." "Accordingly," I repeated. Victoria was scrolling through her phone, not even bothering to look up, and said, "Just don't be weird, Caroline. Don't talk about yourself and don't try to get attention because this isn't about you." My mother nodded enthusiastically, saying, "Exactly. In fact, we've arranged for you to help with some of the coordination to make yourself useful." "The catering staff might need assistance," she added. "You want me to work at my sister's engagement party?" I said flatly. "Not work," my mother corrected. "Help. It is what family does. Besides, you're not exactly bringing a date or contributing financially, so the least you can do is pitch in," she continued. The assumption that I had not contributed financially almost made me laugh since I owned the venue and was technically paying myself to host their party. I just smiled and said, "Of course, whatever Victoria needs." Victoria finally looked up from her phone and added, "Actually, I don't want her in the photos anyway. She always looks so tired and stressed, which brings down the aesthetic." My father actually nodded in agreement, stating, "Victoria is right. Caroline, perhaps it's best if you stay behind the scenes. Do you understand?" I understood perfectly. I understood that in 10 days they were going to regret every single word of this conversation. March 15th arrived with perfect weather, offering a clear spring evening that made the Rosewood estate look like something out of a fairy tale. I dressed carefully in a simple but elegant navy dress, ensuring there was nothing flashy that would draw attention. I wanted to blend in right up until the moment I didn't. I arrived at 6 p.m., an hour before guests were scheduled to arrive. My mother was already there directing the staff like a general commanding troops. She saw me and immediately frowned, saying, "Caroline, you're early." "I wanted to see if you needed any help," I said pleasantly. "How thoughtful," she said in a tone that made it clear she found it anything but thoughtful, adding, "Actually, yes. The catering manager mentioned they're short-staffed." "Perhaps you could assist in the kitchen," she suggested. "In the kitchen," I repeated. "Just for the beginning. Once things get started, well, we'll see," she replied before waving her hand dismissively and walking away. She was already pulling out her phone to take more photos of the elaborate setup. I went to the kitchen, where the catering staff was indeed busy preparing for 72 guests. The head chef, a woman named Maria, whom I had worked with on 3 previous events at the estate, saw me and immediately looked confused. "Miss Hayes, is everything all right? Do you need something changed?" she asked. "Everything is perfect, Maria," I said quietly. "I am just going to observe for a bit since my family does not know I own the estate yet." Understanding dawned on her face, followed by something that looked like anticipation. "I see. Should I just treat you like any other guest?" she asked. "For now," I replied. Guests started arriving at 7 p.m. and I watched from the kitchen window as my extended family filed in, all dressed in their finest. There were 72 people in total, including aunts, uncles, and cousins. all there to celebrate Victoria and Bradley's engagement. Victoria arrived at 7:15 in a dramatic entrance, wearing her Vera Wang dress and practically glowing with self-satisfaction. Bradley was beside her in an expensive suit, looking every bit the successful banker. My parents flanked them like proud peacocks, accepting congratulations as if they had personally achieved something remarkable. At 7:30, my mother came to the kitchen and said, "Caroline, the guests are all here. You should stay in here for dinner," she commanded. "I'm sorry," I said, though I had heard her perfectly. "It is just that the seating is very carefully arranged, and we do not have a place for you at the main tables. It would disrupt everything to rearrange," she explained. "Now you can eat here with the staff. I am sure they won't mind," she added, causing one of the sous chefs to actually drop a spoon. "You want me to eat in the kitchen?" I said, my voice carefully neutral. "It is not personal, Caroline. It is just logistics. You understand?" she said, already turning away as if the matter was settled. "Mom," I said, and something in my tone made her turn back. "You want me to eat in the kitchen at my sister's engagement party?" I pressed. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It is just dinner," she retorted. "Besides, you are not exactly contributing to the celebration, are you? There is no gift, no date, and no real reason to be featured," she continued. "The dining room is for family who actually matter in Victoria's life," she stated, leaving the words hanging in the air. The entire kitchen staff had gone silent. "Family who actually matter," I repeated. "You know what I mean. Victoria's close family, the people who've invested in her future," my mother justified. "Now I need to get back to our guests," she announced, sweeping out of the kitchen without another glance. I stood there for a moment looking at the shocked faces of the catering staff. Maria stepped closer, her voice low as she said, "Miss Hayes, I'm so sorry. We had no idea she would do this." "It is fine," I said calmly. "Actually, it is perfect. Maria, could you prepare me a plate? I will eat here just like my mother wants." I sat at a small table in the corner of the kitchen, eating the same gourmet meal the guests were being served in the grand dining room. Through the window, I could see my family laughing, toasting, and celebrating. My father stood up to make a speech about Victoria's incredible journey and how proud they were of their daughter. He used the singular word daughter, as if he only had one. Then I saw Victoria pull out her phone. She was pointing it toward the kitchen window, right toward me. She was filming me eating alone in the kitchen while her engagement party happened 30 feet away. One of the servers came in and whispered to Maria, "The bride wants you to know she is posting it on Instagram and she has already captioned it." Maria pulled out her own phone, navigated to Victoria's Instagram, and showed me the screen. There I was, sitting in the kitchen, and the caption read, "Where she belongs," followed by a face with tears of joy emoji. The post continued, "Some people are just meant to stay in the background. Hashtag know your place, hashtag engagement party, hashtag family first." The post already had 43 likes and comments from relatives saying things like, "Oh my God, Victoria, you are savage," and "Poor Caroline, this is hilarious. Your sister must be so embarrassed." I looked at that post for exactly 5 seconds, and then I smiled. "Maria," I said calmly, "could you please ask Marcus to come to the kitchen?" He practically ran to get him, and Marcus appeared within minutes, slightly out of breath. "Miss Hayes, I just saw the post," he said. "I know," I replied. "I think it is time, don't you?" His face split into a grin as he said, "I have been waiting for this moment since they booked the venue. Give me 10 minutes, then make the announcement exactly as we discussed," I instructed. "It will be my absolute pleasure," he replied. I spent those 10 minutes finishing my meal slowly and deliberately. I could hear the party continuing in the dining room with more toasts, more laughter, and more celebration of Victoria's perfect life. At exactly 8:47 p.m., I stood up, smoothed my dress, and walked out of the kitchen. I did not go into the dining room just yet. I went to the estate's main office where I had left a folder with Marcus earlier in the week. Inside were the property deeds, the purchase agreement, and several other documents that would make it very clear, very quickly, exactly who owned the Rosewood estate. At 8:50 p.m., I heard the feedback from a microphone being turned on. Marcus's voice, calm and professional, filled the estate as he announced, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the interruption. My name is Marcus Chin, and I am the estate manager here at Rosewood. I have a brief announcement to make," he continued. I could hear the confusion in the dining room and the murmur of voices wondering what was happening. "There has been a significant misunderstanding that needs to be addressed immediately," Marcus stated. "When this event was booked 5 months ago, the party coordinators were not made aware of certain ownership details regarding the property. he explained as the murmuring grew louder. As of September 15th of last year, the Rosewood estate was purchased by a new owner, and that owner is currently in attendance at this evening's event, he revealed. I walked slowly toward the dining room, timing my entrance perfectly. In fact, Marcus continued, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice, the owner has been here all evening. Many of you know her. Miss Caroline Hayes is the sole owner of the Rosewood estate, and as such, she has the authority to make all decisions regarding events held on this property, he declared. I stepped into the doorway of the dining room just as Marcus said my name. 72 faces turned toward me in perfect synchronization, and the silence was absolute. My mother's face had gone completely white, and my father had frozen with his wineglass halfway to his mouth. Victoria's mouth was literally hanging open, and Bradley looked confused, like he could not quite process what he just heard. Marcus continued, Miss Hayes has reviewed the events of this evening and has made a decision regarding the remainder of tonight's celebration as well as future events booked at this venue. I will now turn things over to her. He handed me the microphone as I walked to the front of the room, and every step felt like victory. Hello, everyone, I said, my voice steady and clear. I am sorry to interrupt such a lovely celebration. As Marcus just explained, I own this estate. I purchased it 5 months ago for $2.4 million in cash, I announced. Some of you may be wondering why I did not mention this before, I said, looking directly at my mother. I wasn't asked. In fact, in the 5 months since I bought this property, not one person in my immediate family has asked me what I do for a living, how I am doing financially, or anything about my life beyond whether I was bringing a date to tonight's event, I explained. My father had finally set down his wineglass, and his hand was shaking. When my mother called 5 months ago desperate to book this venue for Victoria's engagement party, I had my estate manager offer her the date, I revealed. I accepted your deposit of $740,000 for tonight's event, plus an additional $200,000 deposit for Victoria's wedding reception next spring, I continued. That is $940,000 total, all paid to me, I stated as Victoria made a sound like a wounded animal. Tonight, I was told that I wasn't important enough to sit in the dining room, I addressed the crowd. I was told to eat in the kitchen with the staff, which I did, by the way, and they were lovely company, I noted. My father told 72 guests that the dining room was for family who actually matter, I recounted. And my sister filmed me eating alone and posted it to Instagram with the caption about where I belong, I added. I pulled out my own phone and held it up, showing Victoria's post on the screen projected behind me via the estate's presentation system. This is what my sister posted 23 minutes ago, I announced. 43 people thought it was hilarious to see me humiliated at my own property, I stated. The room was so silent you could hear people breathing. So, I have made a decision, I declared. Effective immediately, this engagement party is concluded, I announced. You have 30 minutes to gather your belongings and exit the property. The catering is canceled, the bar is closed, and the evening is over, I stated. My mother found her voice and stammered. You can't, Caroline, you can't be serious. I am completely serious, I replied before turning to my manager. Marcus, please begin the shutdown process, I instructed. Wait, Victoria yelled, jumping to her feet with her face blotchy with rage and panic. This is my engagement party. You can't just end it, she screamed. I can actually because it is my property, I replied firmly. But more importantly, Victoria, I am also canceling your wedding reception scheduled for next spring, I added. What? She gasped. Your $200,000 deposit is forfeit per the cancellation clause you signed, so you will receive nothing back, I explained. The clause specifically states that abusive behavior towards staff or property ownership will result in immediate cancellation and forfeiture of all deposits, I clarified. My father stood up, his face turning red, and shouted, This is insane, we are your family. No, I said quietly. Family does not banish someone to eat in the kitchen, nor do they film their humiliation for social media entertainment, I told him. Family does not tell someone they do not matter, I continued. You made it very clear tonight what you think of me, so I am simply responding in kind, I finalized. Bradley, who had been silent this entire time, tried to speak, saying, Miss Hayes, perhaps we can discuss this. There is nothing to discuss, the decision is final, I firmly responded. You all have 28 minutes now to leave my property, I reminded them. What happened next was chaos, pure, beautiful chaos. My mother rushed toward me, her voice shrill as she pleaded, Caroline, please think about what you are doing. This is Victoria's special night. I did think about it, I said calmly. I thought about it when you told me to eat in the kitchen, and I thought about it when Dad said I did not matter, I replied. I thought about it when Victoria filmed me and mocked me online, so yes, I have thought about it very carefully, I assured her. Victoria was crying now. her perfect makeup running down her face as she wailed, "You are ruining my life. Everyone is watching, and this will be all over social media." "Yes," I agreed, "just like your post about me was, except this time the story will not be about where she belongs. It will be about who actually owns the place," I retorted. Relatives started standing up, gathering their things and whispering frantically to each other. I heard snippets of their conversations like, "Did you know Caroline owned this place?" and "How much did she say she paid?" Others muttered, "Oh my God, she is rich. I can't believe they made her eat in the kitchen." My Aunt Jennifer, my mother's sister, walked past and stopped. She looked at me with something I had never seen from my family before, respect. "Caroline," she said quietly, "I had no idea about any of this, and I am sorry." "Thank you," I said. She nodded and walked out, shaking her head. My mother made one more attempt, whispering, "The money, Caroline. We cannot afford to lose $940,000. "Your father's business has been struggling and we took out a loan for this," she confessed. And there was the truth beneath the truth. They could not afford this party. They had gone into debt to throw Victoria an extravagant celebration they could not afford, and now they had lost almost $1 million. "You should have thought of that before you decided I was not worth a seat at the table," I said before calling for security. My security, hired by me, began gently but firmly encouraging guests toward the exits. Victoria was sobbing on Bradley's shoulder, while Bradley looked like he was reconsidering his life choices. My father was on his phone, presumably calling his lawyer, not realizing that my contracts were ironclad. Within 25 minutes, the Rosewood estate was empty except for the staff and me. Marcus approached, barely suppressing a smile, and reported, "All guests have departed, Ms. Hayes. The venue is clear." "Thank you, Marcus," I replied. "Please make sure the staff is paid triple for this evening, including the catering team, as this was not their fault," I instructed. "Already done," he confirmed, adding, "And Miss Hayes, that was the most professionally delivered devastation I have witnessed in 15 years of event management." I stayed at the estate for another hour, helping the staff clean up the abandoned party. There were half-eaten plates of food, scattered napkins, and Victoria's elaborate floral centerpieces, all of it a testament to a celebration that ended in spectacular failure. My phone started ringing at 9:47 p.m. with a call from my mother. I declined the call, but it rang again. I declined a call from my father, declined one from Victoria, and declined my mother again. Text messages started flooding in. From Mom, "Caroline, please call me. We need to talk about this because you are being irrational." From Dad, "This is unacceptable behavior. Call me immediately." From Victoria, "I hate you. You ruined my life. Everyone saw, and Bradley's parents are furious." I blocked all 3 numbers. Then the extended family started calling, including cousins, aunts, and uncles, the people who had watched me eat in the kitchen and said nothing. I sent one group text stating, "Tonight's events speak for themselves. I will not be discussing this further, so please respect my privacy." Then I turned off my phone. What I did not know until the next morning was that the story had exploded online. Victoria's original Instagram post, the one mocking me in the kitchen, had been screenshotted and shared thousands of times, but now it had context. Guests from the party had posted their own accounts of the evening. One wrote, "I just witnessed the most insane revenge at an engagement party. The poor sister eating in the kitchen owned the $2.4 million venue and kicked everyone out. Fire." Another shared, "My cousin's engagement party just got canceled because they humiliated the bride's sister, who turned out to be the property owner." Someone else commented, "I can't even process this. So my family member made her sister eat in the kitchen at a party, filmed it, mocked her online, then found out that sister owns the estate and lost $940,000. I have no words." Victoria's post had gone from 43 likes to being shared over 50,000 times. But now the comments were very different. Users wrote things like, "You mocked someone eating in the kitchen at their own property. The karma is immaculate." And, "Imagine losing almost $1 million because you couldn't be decent to your sister." Someone had created a side-by-side comparison with Victoria's original mocking post on the left and a photo someone had taken of me speaking into the microphone on the right. It had been shared 127,000 times with the caption, "Find someone who looks at you the way Caroline Hayes looks at people who underestimated her." I did not hear from my immediate family for 3 weeks, experiencing total radio silence with no calls, no texts, and no emails. It was the most peaceful 3 weeks I had enjoyed in years. Then on April 7th, my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. I opened it to find my mother standing there looking like she had aged 10 years in 3 weeks. "Caroline, we need to talk," she pleaded. No, we don't, I replied. Please, just 5 minutes. I'm asking, she begged. Against my better judgment, I let her in, and she sat on my couch looking around my penthouse apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. She actually was, since she had never visited me here in the 3 years I had owned it. This is very nice, she said weakly. Thank you, I responded. Caroline, I came to apologize and to ask if there is any way we can get the deposit back, she stammered. Your father's business is in serious trouble and we are going to lose the house, she confessed. We have already canceled Victoria's wedding because we cannot afford it, she added before I cut her off. Stop, I commanded, and she stopped. You came here to apologize, but really you came here to ask for money, just like always, I observed, except this time you actually have to acknowledge that I have money to ask for, I pointed out. That's not, yes, we need help, but I am sorry, we were wrong, she fumbled. What specifically were you wrong about? I challenged her. She blinked and asked, what? Tell me specifically what you did wrong. Not we were wrong, but what did you do wrong? I demanded. She struggled visibly before saying, I shouldn't have made you eat in the kitchen, and I shouldn't have said those things about family that matters. And I interrupted her saying, you spent 31 years treating me like I was worthless. You paid for Victoria's entire life while telling me I wasn't worth investing in, I recounted. You never asked about my career, my life, or my achievements, and you never once considered that I might be successful, I continued. And when given the opportunity at Victoria's party, you chose to humiliate me publicly rather than treat me with basic human dignity, I concluded. Tears were running down her face as she sobbed. Now I know all of that, and I am sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry for what you did, or are you sorry you lost $940,000? I asked coldly. She did not answer, and she did not have to, because we both knew the truth. You need to leave, I said quietly. Caroline, please, she begged. You need to leave my home now, I demanded, and she left crying. I closed the door and felt nothing, no satisfaction, no anger, just a profound sense of finality. It has been 6 months since Victoria's engagement party ended in spectacular fashion, and I have not spoken to my parents or Victoria since my mother's visit. They have tried calling from different numbers, sending letters, and even showing up at my office once before security escorted them out. According to my Aunt Jennifer, the only family member I have maintained contact with, my parents did lose their house. They are living in a small apartment now, both working jobs they hate to pay off the debt they accumulated trying to impress people with Victoria's life events. Victoria and Bradley postponed their wedding indefinitely. Apparently, the viral story of the engagement party made Bradley's parents concerned about the family dynamics, and they have been pressuring him to reconsider the marriage. Victoria blames me for potentially losing her fiancé, which is ironic considering she is the one who filmed me and posted it to social media. As for me, I am thriving. My real estate portfolio is now worth $12.3 million. I have expanded into commercial properties and just closed on a small hotel downtown. The Rosewood estate is booked solid for the next 18 months with clients who specifically requested to work with me after hearing the story. I have also built something my biological family never gave me, a real family. Marcus and his wife have become close friends, and Maria, the catering chef, and I have started a side business doing pop-up dinner events. My Aunt Jennifer and I have coffee every week, and she has introduced me to cousins I barely knew growing up. They are people who actually care about who I am, not what I can do for them. I do not regret what I did at Victoria's engagement party, not for a single second. Some people think I was too harsh, saying that family deserves second chances and that I should forgive and move on. But here is what I learned. Family isn't about blood. It is about respect, love, and treating people like they matter. My biological family failed that test for 31 years. I gave them countless chances to see me, to value me, and to treat me with basic dignity, but they chose not to. The moment they made me eat in the kitchen at my own property, they made their choice, and I simply honored it. I am Caroline Hayes. I am 31 years old. I own a multi-million-dollar real estate empire, and I have not been in a kitchen I did not want to be in for 6 months. And you know what? I have never been happier. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. Sometimes the best revenge is not getting even. It is becoming so successful that the people who dismissed you become irrelevant to your happiness.